How would you like to put an end to painful feelings? Welcome to the Heal the Hurt podcast. Remember when we were kids and we believed that anything was possible? We were going to be the first man or woman to do something really great. But then something happened. Something got in the way of living the life of greatness we know we were meant for. Well, it's now your turn to become the greatest version of yourself. And to achieve that, we will heal the hurt. The first step in changing hurtful feelings and being able to feel good every day is we have to change some long-standing beliefs. See, the general consensus or information you get out there says that your thoughts, you really want to focus on your thoughts. Well, it's just not true. Your thoughts are a byproduct of what you're feeling. Everything starts with a feeling, and let me explain why that is. First of all, it's how our brain is designed. The way we process information, every bit of information we ever take in, whether we see it, smell it, touch it, taste it, hear it, it all comes through our thalamus. It's the emotional center of our brain. It splinters off to a couple other sections, and basically what's happening is your brain and body are checking for past emotional experiences. And based on those emotional experiences, it's going to generate a feeling. That's why certain people can like something, another person doesn't like it. It's really based on their emotional connection, the emotional experience they have to that topic or food or whatever it may be. All right, so it's getting cataloged. Once it gets cataloged based on those previous emotional experiences, then it gets to thought. That's why so many people who are doing positive thinking stuff aren't improving, because they're not addressing the core source of what's creating the negative thoughts. So start challenging yourself. That most likely for some of you right there's a feeling of, uh-oh, I was wrong. I don't like to be wrong. Now, see, we get an insight into what's creating the bad feelings or difficult feelings throughout the day. Where was the first time you learned it was not okay to have your own belief system? That's a window into it. So I'm going to walk you through the process so you can see why if you got a negative reaction to discovering that our feelings drive our behavior, not our thoughts, this is going to help you. You're going to see what started that, and you're going to be able to flip that, and that's going to start allowing you to feel good every day. Okay? So the first step in the process is really pretty straightforward. Just go onto Google, type in feelings list. There are thousands of them. Just find one that resonates with you, that feels comfortable, has a good mix of both positive and negative feelings. Now, what you're going to want to do is keep that with you for several days and track what you're feeling. So like in my university programs, I have, the whole program starts with a self-awareness feeling tracker, because feelings drive everything, not thoughts. And most people, 70% of the population doesn't even feel. They're completely disconnected from their feeling, which is really their body, because we really feel feelings in our body. And so, with 2/3 of the population disconnected from the source of what drives their success and their ability to succeed in life, that's the first thing we have to get re-engaged. And so what I recommend in the master classes is that they track their feelings 5 times a day. Now, you can do it more or less. Obviously, the more you do it, the better. And the way to start is just notice. For 2, 3, 5, maybe even 7 days, just make check marks. Let's say you're going to do it 5 times a day. 5 times a day, stop, pause, and go, what am I feeling? Look through the list and start making check marks next to the feelings that really fit what you're experiencing in that moment. Several things are going to happen. One, you're going to realize, wow, there's a big difference between frustrated and annoyed or angry. You've probably been categorizing things one way, and you're going to realize there are subtleties, little shifts, and I'll get to that in a minute. Little different ways you're experiencing something. So that's the first step. One, it's building a pattern. It's a habit of checking in on what you feel all the time. If you just try and do it one day and get to the, move on, it's like, well, I've done it for a day, I'm ready for the rest of the stuff, you won't develop the habit, because really what we're trying to learn here is a new habit to constantly be aware of what we feel, because our feelings are driving our life, not our thoughts. And the more skill and effort we put into becoming an expert at noticing every second of the day exactly what we're feeling, that's the key to being able to feel good every day. Okay? So I really encourage you, don't skip this step. The way my master class is set up, they don't get access to any of the program for a full week. I'm encouraging them for a week, become an expert in what you feel. All right? It's imperative that you're really paying attention as much as possible as to what it is you're feeling. Now, once you get that, in a sense, the first thing you're going to see is you're going to notice there's a pattern. There are patterns to certain feelings that are repeating over and over and over. You're going to see check marks near anywhere from 2 to 10 different feelings that are repeating throughout that week over and over and over. You're reliving them, okay? Now, once you see that, the next step is to ask yourself, when was the first time I ever had this feeling? Remember in the beginning, when I challenged the belief system that thoughts drive our behavior, what did you feel? Was there a sense of, so let's say in that moment there was a sense of, uh-oh, I'm wrong. I don't want to be wrong. Or some sort of denial or push away or argument with me. Ask yourself, when was the first time I had this exact same experience? Almost always, it's going to refer back to something in childhood. But here's the key. I'm not saying just go back to childhood. What I'm encouraging you to do is ask yourself, what's my first memory of this? It could be yesterday. And what matters is the first thing that pops into your mind. Don't filter and go, well, that wasn't a big deal. That's what a lot of people do. Start writing down all the experiences you've had of when it wasn't okay to have your own thoughts and beliefs on something, or you were told you were wrong, because that's probably how somebody perceived that new information was, I'm bad or wrong. So that's what you're looking for, is when was the first time I remember having this experience? And you may get flooded with countless memories. Just write them all down, as many as you can. And they may bounce. You may, one yesterday, one from 5 years old, 18 years old, all over, it doesn't matter. Just catalog them. Catalog all of them, as many as you can. Start noticing, oh my goodness, I have been repeating this feeling all my life. The next question is, where in your body do you feel it? Now you're going to notice when you feel anger, sadness, frustration, happiness, joy, whatever it may be, it'll correlate to a certain part of your body. Now the reason it does that is, and this is really what causes illness, we are feeling that feeling repetitively, and the cells of the body break down because of the toxicity of that feeling, the cell structure and everything, and that's really what creates disease, dis-ease. We're not at ease with ourselves, and our body is sending us a message that emotionally we need to address something. And unless we address this, we're going to end up sick and hurt, okay? So now that you have laid out your first experiences with it and where in your body do you feel it, the next step is to ask yourself, what is my action that I take after I feel this feeling? Now you may not have memories of some of what your actions were a year ago or 20 years ago or whatever it may be, and that's okay if you don't. But if you do, catalog them. Again, you're going to start seeing there's a way you medicate that feeling. You avoid it. You end up doing something detrimental to yourself. You go against yourself. That's what's keeping this repetition of feeling bad in your life going. You keep repeating the feeling, and here's why. When we have an emotional experience, it creates an emotional chemical addiction inside our brain and body in the actual cells. And remember I said we store things in our body. So literally what happens is Here, a perfect example. We all know the drama king or queen, right? Somebody who they just can't live in peace. They're constantly stirring up trouble. Well, that's usually signs of, lots of difficulties when they were growing up. Probably weren't heard, lots of abandonment, lots of fear. And so they're just sitting on the couch, watching TV. They're actually calm, doing nothing. But because of the way emotions work and the chemicals they release and how our brain and body becomes addicted, I know people will have a strong feeling to that. So let me see if I can find a word that doesn't generate such a feeling, because we all have these judgments about addiction. But that's literally, if you like tennis shoes, it's an addiction. It's a chemical reaction, an emotional reaction that goes, oh, I love tennis shoes. And that addiction fires and it releases those chemicals. Well, because of our brain never likes to work. Our brain is constantly seeking to repeat what it knows, even if what it knows is detrimental to us. What it doesn't know right from wrong or good or bad. It just knows known versus unknown. And it basically surmises, well, I'm alive. Even if my life has had all these tragedies, doesn't matter. I'm still alive. Your brain is just trying to survive. It's not categorizing what is good for us or bad for us. And so, because it's learned this emotional response, addiction, maybe you don't like addiction, so it's learned this pattern. So it's seeking to repeat it over and over and over and over so it can sleep. It never has to work. It never has to do anything, because it takes tremendous energy for our brain to work. So that's why the drama king or queen, they're just sitting on the couch doing nothing, and all of a sudden they send off this text message and everything blows up. I'm sure you have friends like that, or ex-partners like that, or hopefully you're not still with a partner like that. But if you are, have empathy. They're not doing it on purpose. They're just in an emotional loop based on painful childhood experiences that they've never, reconciled. And their brain and body is literally addicted. Their brain is just sitting there going, hey, it's too quiet. I need my fix. It sends a signal to that part of your body, creates the loop, the chemicals release, and boom, drama everywhere in their life. So that's what's happening. And so that's why you need to catalog what are your actions after you experience that feeling. Where do they work for you and against you? Okay. Now, quite often you're going to see how they work against you, that there's this patterned response of, well, take it in relationships. Most of us at the end of a relationship go, God, I knew from the beginning. I knew this was trouble, but I couldn't stop myself. There you go. Now, do you see how it all circles back and ties in? The reason you couldn't stop yourself is your brain and body is addicted to that. Why? Because it learned it almost always in childhood, a patterned response of survival with mom and dad, brothers and sisters, that was painful, and it got conditioned to seek to repeat that feeling. It feels like the right thing to do. Even if it feels like the wrong thing to do, we can't stop it until we heal that feeling. That's the biggest step, is we have to be willing to commit ourselves to reworking that emotion. Now, the process to do that, I'll try and give you a little bit of it. I mean, obviously, this is stuff that gets worked out with clients, individually or through my groups. I can't do it in a short podcast because every individual is different, exactly how they store it, what their, painful experience was. So, there will be subtleties and things like that. But there are some things that you can do on your own. And so I'm going to try and give you some suggestions on how you do it. The first thing you can do is recognize that the first time you got that message or had that emotional experience, that it was just your parents, brother, sister, aunts, uncles, coaches, teachers, whoever it may be, being imperfect. That because they had emotional imperfections that they hadn't addressed, they dumped those emotions into us. We're actually carrying somebody else's pain. It's not even ours, okay? And so it's a recognition that they were imperfect, that they did the best they could. It's not a yelling and screaming. It's not an anger thing. And even, I mean, it's okay if, say, you went through rape or abuse, that's where you learned this feeling, and you went through horrific things. It is okay to be angry at it. I'm not denying you your anger. I am saying if you stay stuck in the anger, that's the loop. And so what it requires is a recognition of only victims victimize other people. So this is tough for people to hear, but I mean, I don't condone rape or abuse or any of that stuff, but the only reason a person does that is because they experienced it. That's it. It's learned. We're not born that way. And so maybe that will help you if you went through something horrific, to look at it and go, I don't condone what they do or what they did to me, but I can understand why they did it. And I can have a heart. They're feeling the exact same pain I'm feeling. Man, we're the same. Now, maybe they chose not to face it, and that's sad, but at least I can understand it. All right. And maybe I didn't go and hurt people like they did, but I can understand it. And from that, that lowers some of that resentment, which is a feeling. It lowers some of that anger. It allows us to get back centered within ourselves. And from that place, we can give it back to them. And so every client or university member has their own way of doing that. I know for me, the way I did it is, usually stuff with my father is I would, grab that message or that feeling inside my chest, and I just go, Dad, I love you. I know you did the best you could, but this is your pain and I won't carry it for you any longer. If you've read my book, that's, there's the final chapter. I talk about how I gave the last bit of my father's pain back to him and said, I won't carry it anymore. I did it lovingly, but it was time to let it go. And that's what sets us free. We have to go back through those painful moments and rework them. Now, there are many more steps to it, or different ways to do it, because each individual handles that or gets benefit from it differently. Other options are, and this is, remember, we store our emotional experiences, especially, all of our painful ones, in our body. I can't tell you how many clients come in with, my shoulders are tight. I always check in. How's your body? What's going on? Shoulders are tight. Okay. So tell me what's going on in your life. If it's their shoulders, they feel like they're carrying the weight of somebody else's burden, problem, whatever, If it's their knee, they're afraid to step into their life. It all correlates. Every single, whatever you are struggling with physically in your body, if you have an injury or a tightness or something like that, it's all your body is screaming at you what emotion you need to face and process and learn to let go of. That's all it is. I'd sit there with clients, we work through it, you just watch their shoulders drop. It just disappears. It's just, I always find it fascinating. And just to see the peace in them, the comfort that comes back into their life, it's just a great experience for both of us, because that's what we all want, is more peace in our life. So many things can help us. This is why so many people get addicted to working out, yoga, because body therapy is great for us. I recommend all of it, whether it's massage, yoga, acupuncture, Reiki. There are all these different techniques. All of them are great, because I had one client who, she didn't know how to take care of herself. She was having fibromyalgia and arthritis. Those are all caused from an inability to say no, an inability to love ourselves. And we started talking about self-care, and one of the things she'd always said she wanted was a massage, but she never felt like, she could do that. Her job was to take care of others. Well, that was, a challenge I gave her, was to go get a massage. Well, she texted me. She just broke down crying. It all came pouring out. And that can happen for people. Certain body therapies, that can be, more effective than my talking with them and giving them these skills and tools. Everybody's different. And that's why I'm open, I don't say any of them are bad. Try them all. But that's why so many people are so addicted, they can't sit still. They have to keep moving because their body is in complete turmoil and experiencing lots of emotions. And so they're trying to process it out through activity. So I encourage you, don't stop it, keep doing it, but make sure you do the feelings work behind it. Because if you're not understanding what's driving you to be so excited about this certain activity, that there's a feeling you're trying to reconcile within you, you're missing out on the full benefits of something you really enjoy. And that's all we're after, is to enjoy everything as much as possible. So those are some quick tips on the way to do it. Obviously, it's much more involved, but that will really give you the basis to start feeling good every single day. And the most important piece, now you're going to know why. Every single time you have a bad feeling in your life, it's just tying into past painful experiences. That's it. And when you become an expert in those and an expert in reworking them, you get to feel good every single day. And you know exactly when a painful experience comes up in the present tense, you know exactly what to do to flip it around. So give that a try and enjoy feeling good every day.